Okay. Yay. Good morning.
Welcome.
Welcome back.
Welcome to Shared Universe, Eatontown.
I kind of wish we were in the Asbury location this morning. It's kind of rainy today though, so we'll have to save it for
a sunny
surfy day.
And we have our friends here that came down from our old stomping grounds of Bergen County, and I'm excited to have them. Jamie's dance team
Mate.
Is that what you call it?
I guess so.
I've been dreaming of J-Lo's backup dancer since Sunday night, so I will.
You guys could practice.
Me and Nicole might just like start getting into routine in a moment.
We can learn the choreo.
I think we could do it.
You could do it. And also, I just want to take a moment before we let our guests today introduce themselves and say hi to Maris. Hi, Maris.
Maris is our social media maven, and today is her 1-year anniversary with us. So happy anniversary,
with the
Maris.
Dreamcatchers, and most importantly with Choice Associates. And she came down. She's never been in the studio, so we're welcoming her here today. And then with that said, today is what we call a What's Your Story? And I actually think probably we could have done either one of our focuses for you all, but I think the combination of your background is more appropriate for What's Your Story, which is basically where we do like a swan dive into your past. And we spoke a few minutes off air, guys, and I'll make sure that I bring in some of the questioning that I just did before we were on the mic because it's fun. Because these two ladies have a fantastic story and career, and I can't wait to hear how they met and all that jazz. So, without much further ado, why don't you introduce yourselves? Christine, starting with you.
Sure. So I'm Christine Deer. I'm the founder of K-Deer Activewear. Going on about 10 years in business, and it all started back in my childhood bedroom. I worked in the city, lost my job because of the recession, and found yoga, or yoga found me, I should say. And as I started practicing Bikram, the hot practice was just brutal on clothing. So I wore one pair of shorts. They were my soccer shorts that I used to wear underneath my like big bulky shorts. And they finally gave out. And I was like, shit.
Were you in the middle of a class when they gave out?
Yeah, pretty much. I realized
Whoops,
like my
sorry,
tush was
everyone.
falling
Yeah.
out, I was overstretched, and I was like, I need to make my own stuff. And so my sister was a swimwear designer. She designed the prints that go on the fabric of
Repeats
of
and
swimwear.
patterns. We're familiar.
Ned
Yep.
Graphics.
And so she had always kind of collected fabric, and I had this stash. I was like, use fabric that is meant to get wet, because you walk into a hot yoga room and it's like you've jumped into a pool of your own sweat for about an hour and a half. So made a pair of shorts, and it kind of had to follow a few guidelines. Like I didn't want to feel pinched in. I didn't want to feel bulky. I didn't want to be distracted. So this one little pair of shorts ended up like changing my life. And I realized maybe other people might want their life changed too. So I shared it with teachers. I shared it with other students. And eventually it was like, I think I got something here. And started the brand, essentially. At the same time, I became a hot yoga teacher. I did my teacher training with Jimmy Barkin down in South Florida, where I lived on the beach for a month, did 2 hot yoga classes a day, and it was heaven. It was wonderful.
Let's take a moment and I'll go back there really fast.
Yeah, like just close your eyes.
Sounds lovely.
I'm more so thinking
Hey,
about
Jimmy.
how old you were at that time. Like,
I
let's
was
say like 20,
24
Sounds
going
great.
on. I graduated on my 25th birthday, and that was pretty much the birth of K-Deer, because as I was away, I had already posted a few items for sale up on Etsy. Oops, sorry, I'm squeaky. And 2 pairs of shorts were sold, and my first customer was Jean Caluger, and she was from South Florida, actually.
I
And
love that you know her name. Yeah.
and Jean and I stayed in touch, and we're pen pals, and we gifted each other at Christmas time and for our birthdays. And she was a big part of my journey of realizing, like the community was so strong and so loving and so welcoming to me. And so in my first year of business, I taught yoga at night. I took classes. And during the day, I'd put an IKEA tabletop on my bed, and I'd hand cut and sew shorts. I got down to 11 minutes a short. and
Good projection. They'd ask you that on Shark Tank.
Yeah, they would.
hand cut and sewn. And then I would package them up, hand write the addresses out, and take them to the post office and do the whole thing. And the customer service, the marketing, the social media, everything. And I used Facebook mostly to begin with.
The Facebook when you graduated college, yeah.
To reach people and to kind of collect this community, because the Bikram folks were all obsessively connected, because Bikram is the same exact thing everywhere you go in the world.
Yes.
So one person loved it in Arizona, shared it with their friend who was teaching in Australia, who shared it with their friend who was teaching in Paris, who shared it with their friend who was teaching in New York, and it was
A
beautiful.
micro-influencer and also an organic community.
Uber organic.
Prior to predating anybody using those terminologies. You know, and you
Absolutely.
think about Orange Theory and all these things that are now big fitness people or brands, and they were honoring the trend, or not even the trend, the pattern or the theory behind Bikram. Is it is the same series of poses,
Yes.
and it's used everywhere. So if you do a Bikram series in South Florida and your friend does a Bikram series in New York on the same day, you've done virtually the same series.
Yep.
Right? That's incredible. I love that story.
Wait, and we're going to get to a lot of that stuff in a minute, and I love hearing that
First
it
of all, you
started
have-
in your childhood bedroom.
Hold. Oh, you have a very good speaking voice.
Yeah, great speaking voice.
Thank you.
Love it.
When you teach, have people told you that you're soothing?
People think that I'm like English or something, because I have great non-regional diction.
Except for a few minutes ago.
Except
off.
for a few
yeah.
minutes.
You said corner.
Corner.
Before we got on the
like-
mic.
and quota.
Yeah.
Can't say it.
Yeah.
Can't say it. It's like
Yeah.
Jersey. It's like I've had
to
like
work
4
on
gin
it.
and tonics. And
Yeah.
I'm like, what's up? So yeah, thank you. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
I love my Shavasanas and my Dharma talks in the beginning of class.
Yeah.
I hope people enjoy my voice.
Do you still teach?
I do once a night, or Tuesday nights. So tonight I teach one class, and it like revives me, and it grounds me.
Yeah,
and
it reminds you where you come from.
it keeps me accountable, because I can't teach what I can't preach what I don't practice.
Yeah.
Sure.
So in walking in and doing a Dharma talk, I'm telling you about my depression. I'm telling you about, the relationship with my mom. I'm telling you about the shit that went down at work. Like, I am being real so that you get an idea that, like,
You can work through your shit together. Yeah.
I know you. I get you. I'm with you. You're not alone. And that's the thing that keeps coming up. And Nicole and I talked about this. It's so important to know that you're not alone. And I think that teaching yoga is my way of saying, like, we're in this together. So
And where do
love
you
that.
teach?
I teach at a studio called Fire Shaper.
Oh, yeah.
It used to be the old school hot yoga New Jersey, and then it was a Bikram studio at first, and then it evolved as
Did they
it
have
evolved.
Hot Yoga New Jersey had a location in Hoboken, I feel like?
No, they were Westwood, North Heldon, Rutherford.
Got it. I would go. That's why. I remember I would drive from Hoboken to a location.
Oh wow.
And Fire Shaper is purely yoga?
Yeah, well, they do like that their burn class has the weights and
Yeah.
some
Sure.
of that stuff, but basically they still do the Bikram series. They do an hour version of it, and then variations of like the bargain method and stuff like that.
I love that. And Nicole,
Yes.
welcome.
Hi, thank you.
Tell us about you, my friend.
Well, I'm Nicole Stelge, and I am the marketing manager for Kadier. I've been on board with Christine since October of last year, and it has been very life-changing for me, coming from a decade plus of working in the very corporate fashion accessories world to now working for Christine. We have a small team, and I think we just kick ass, like, on a daily basis.
totally do.
Everybody,
I like that.
everybody comes in, everybody is doing their job, and there's such a passion behind what we all do every day. And like Christine says, like, she practices what she preaches, and she's got such a great way of bringing the team together. And we start our team meetings with a big deep breath, a big exhale, and we go hard, but we go hard in a way like my day is never just sat like, oh, when am I getting out of here?
Yeah.
Like, when is this over?
I love it.
It's been just so great that it's something I care about, and I believe in the brand, and I believe in what I'm doing, and I really believe in the mission and the message that Christina set forward. So,
and I love that, and I want to hear so much about the mission.
Did you plan that that's what you wanted her to say before she came in?
Yeah, right. Like those are her message points.
Yeah. In all fairness, how lovely is that to hear from someone on your own team?
It makes me not only feel grateful and blessed that like I have a team of
people who are picking up
empowered, special women and one man, one fantastic guy.
Love him too.
Love him, and there's synergy, there's alignment, and it took quite some time to find the right fit, and I feel like I have the dream team, and it makes me feel really loved because they want to be here with me, and they believe in what I believe, and they all have their own personality, and I give them a lot of freedom, and I let them be very independent in their work. I'm not a micromanager, but at the same time, I love the fact that we can all sit down and talk about our values. I love the fact that we can say on a Friday, fuck it, let's go get a beer, and sit there and have great conversation, and then go back to work and get the rest of our day done, and go home and feel like not only did I accomplish something, but I have a connection with the people that I get to spend.
I'm crashing that next beer. If it's at the Iron Horse with a stuffed cheeseburger, I'm in.
Yum.
We're all from Bergen County. We didn't mention that. We're all from Bergen, and we dream of where we grew up. Although we love being by the beach now. But we're gonna go into a little bit more about why you do what you do and how you got there. I just want to take a moment and thank Bridget Ripple, who brought us back together, because Bridget was on our social media panel at the tail end of last year, and these girls heard it and saw it. Bridget, who's on our screen right now on the K-Deer website.
She's wearing the same pants I'm wearing. I'm just gonna let it. I'm gonna
no,
just
yours
let it
are the
there.
neon version. Hers are the OGs, I think, right? The colors.
those are the Dana stripe.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. So I'm a little brighter.
Yeah. So Bridget is obviously a friend of yours, and you saw that, and then ironically, when Nicole reached out, I saw that she worked there, but Nicole and I go way back. We danced on the same dance team in high school, Go OT. Yes. So the fact that you're here today and all of this full circle is just so awesome. We're so happy to have you both. So just to start from the beginning, as Marcia mentioned, we have two arms of our podcast. One is What's Your Story, and one is What's the Word. What's the Word we kind of came to when we started in people who had a more untraditional trajectory of their career, where they maybe quit their job late in life and started something new and inspire others by doing that, or maybe they're a yoga teacher or something like that. But because you have been doing the same thing, and you kind of set your mind to something young and have been doing it since, we found that What's Your Story and kind of how you got here is probably a better use of our time to talk to you about how you started from somewhere and then got to here,
and also used your skills on the way.
And Nicole has a more traditional trajectory, obviously working for the man, right? Or the amazing, Dharma spitting woman. So we'd love to talk to you both a little bit more about that. So how we start each conversation is being that we are the Dreamcatchers, and we're so much about chasing dreams, and that dreams can change, and what we all wanted to be when we grew up. So that's where we like to start. What did you want to be when you grew up, and why? And we also like to find the synergy in what you say and what you actually are doing now, because even though it may not be head of marketing for an athleisure brand, somewhere in there, being a dancer, all the things led you here. So I'd love to start with you, Christine. What did you want to be when you grew up? What's your earliest memory of what you wanted to be, besides the childhood bedroom?
I think my first realization of what I wanted to be was probably around 5 or 6. I was raised in a very artistic home. My dad was a professional photographer. My mom was a print designer. She was super creative, and we didn't have a dining room in my house. We had an art room. So there was no traditional dining room. There was a place where we had a huge art table and markers and paint and pens and paper and construction paper and all the things that we could create out of. And I just wanted to make stuff. I wanted to use my hands, and I wanted to make something so that I could give it to you and show you how much I loved you. That was all I wanted to do as a kid. And I have memories of making, a dog house out of construction paper or cardboard and duct tape. I love duct tape. I was the duct tape queen. I made a pair of shoes out of the parquet flooring from, the front of the house, out of duct tape and parquet flooring, and just made the straps and the shoes, and it was a thing. And I finally discovered a big box of fabric in my attic. That was my grandmother's. And I would use staples and duct tape to put the fabric together, and I made my mom a robe. And she hung it, I don't know if she ever wore it, but she hung it in her closet, and I was so proud of the fact that my mother kept it. She kept everything. But there was something about the fact that she put it in her closet next to her other clothes that it was of value to her. And I realized that if anything, I was going to be a creator. I thought maybe I'll be an engineer, right? An engineer that makes stuff. Mm-hmm. And then when I found the fabric, I realized I want to make the thing that you can put on, that you feel good wearing. And then as I went through elementary school, if I was given a book report, I said, okay, I'll do the book report, but can I also make a life-size version of Mrs. Trunchbull? Can I make, life-size versions of these characters so that I can tell the story and that I can be visual and that I can show and create so that you can see it and understand it better? So by the time I got to high school, I was probably in 4 art classes. I stopped taking science and math by the time I was a junior, and filled up my roster with anything that I could make stuff with and geared it all towards fashion. And I realized that's what made my heart happy. That's what made me feel most like myself. Mm-hmm. And sure, I had other passions. I was a soccer player. I was a track star, soccer star. Tore my ACL in high school, so that was kind of out the window, which was great because had I gone to school to play soccer, I would have never gone to school to do fashion.
Sure.
So I went to Syracuse University in their fashion design program, which is a phenomenal program because you learn everything soup to nuts. So I know how to pattern make, I know how to illustrate, I know how to sew, and by my senior year, I created a collection. I walked it down a runway, I put it on models, I designed the whole thing, created the whole thing from sample to production, meaning the actual garments that walked down the runway, and I won my senior award.
That's awesome.
That was kind of a huge accomplishment that I thought, wow, I'm going to go and work in the city for some great company. And once I got out of college, there was nothing out there. So I freelanced, and I did as much as I could.
Good.
With whatever
we tell our candidates all the time.
Oh my gosh.
Don't be afraid to tempt.
No.
Yeah.
And just tried it all.
It's like shopping.
Yeah, you're just
You
trying
don't know
things
what it's
out.
gonna be like.
Yeah.
And you're making money while you're looking.
You sure are.
Did you graduate in 2008?
2007.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not amazing.
Not amazing.
Tough time.
But it was great because that forced me into having to try so many different things that I realized, oh, I like this, I don't like that. I love this, I don't love that. I don't want to be like her. I don't want to be like that boss that I had.
Yep.
But I do feel like I could do something. But I never thought that I would own my own company.
I'm going to freeze frame what you just said.
Yes.
And
There's a snippet right there,
Yeah.
Maris. Get that.
we
We'll send
talk
that to
about
all our
why
candidates.
freelance is important. I've been on a soapbox talking about freelance for over a decade.
Yeah.
I was already doing this when you graduated.
Yeah.
So, helping people try to figure it out, especially in fashion. Sometimes you can just pick up a lot of stuff by being open-minded and out there.
You sure can.
You can see what you like, you can see what you don't like. It's like I said, it's shopping. And as long as you don't if you take your ego out of it, it's amazing. And it could turn into something more.
I do think we're trending toward that culture now where it's more acceptable
Yes.
to be that entrepreneur,
But it was a
work for
fight.
yourself or freelance or not have benefits and not work full time.
Well, they call it a gig economy.
Yeah,
That's
a gig
the new-
economy, obviously. And I think that, we're getting towards that as a trend, I think, as we see candidates all the time a little bit more open-minded and honestly, not always the candidate, the parent, right? It's the candidate that says to us, well, my mom thinks I should have a full-time job with benefits. And I think we're starting to get to a point where people realize that that's hopefully an option for them. But before we go into a little bit more about what you're doing now and how you got there, I'd love to hear from you what you wanted to be when you grew up. Was it a dancer?
Of course.
Yeah, it was.
Yes, I wanted to be a prima ballerina on the stage, and then quickly realized how hard that actually is. By the time I was probably about 11 or 12, I realized I wanted to be a kid and not
Sure.
be in a ballet studio from sun up to sundown. but I still always hold on to my love of dance. I have 2 young children. My daughter is starting her dance journey. She's in her